Result clauses. Today we're going to talk specifically about adverbial result clauses. As its name suggests, a result clause explains what happens as a result of the main clause. For example, the coffee was so hot that I burned my mouth. Burning my mouth was the result of the coffee being hot. So unlike a purpose clause, which shows the intent of the main clause, the result clause just shows what happens. So maybe it was what you wanted, maybe not, but this is what it is. A common example of this that you might hear is your mama jokes. So your mama's so old, the candles cost more than the birthday cake. Your mama's so stupid, she got fired from the M&M factory for throwing away all the W's. So obviously it can sometimes be hard to tell these apart from a purpose clause, which has so that. But you'll notice in all of these examples, there's something in between so and that. So the coffee was so hot that, your mama was so old that, so stupid that. So we've got another word, an adjective or an adverb, coming there in between so and that. So here are some examples in Latin. Tam strenue laborat ut omnia opera perficiat. She worked so strenuously that he completed all the tasks. Erant tot edificia ut omnia videre non possem. There were so many buildings that I wasn't able to see them all. Tanta virtus a militibus demonstrata est numquam supererentur. Such courage was displayed by the soldiers that they were never beaten. So if we look for some similarities here, we right away see that we have, again, ut as our subordinator. So again, we have some things in common with purpose clauses. But also you'll see, if you look at the second example here, that we have a negative clause that doesn't use ne, right, which is what we would expect with a purpose clause. For result clauses, it's always ut. So if you want to make it negative, you just use the regular non. And we also see that we have subjunctive verbs in each of these sentences. And moreover, that we have a wide variety of tenses. So in the first example, perficiat, that's a present subjunctive. In the second example, possem, that's imperfect subjunctive. And in the third example, superati sint, that's perfect subjunctive. And then lastly, we have these so words in the start of each clause. Tam strenui, he worked so strenuously. Tot edificia, there were so many buildings. And tanta virtus, such courage. And these words are going to become very important to result clauses. We call these words intensifiers. And there's a list here of the most common ones, the ones that I'll expect you to be able to recognize. So we've got tam, so, tantis, so great or such great, talis, such or of such a kind, tot, so many, totiens, so often, adao, so, and ita, so. You might also notice that these are really similar to the interrogative subordinators that we learned when we did indirect questions. They kind of correlate to each other, right? So we had quantis, how much, and now tantis, so much. Qualis, of what kind? Qualis, of such a kind. Quote, how many, tote, so many, etc. So just really quickly, here are some snippets of what those might sound like in the sentence, especially with all of the different so's. They're all a little bit different. So Tom would give us something like Tom clariter currit. He runs so quickly. Tantus cum tanta claritate currit. He runs with such great speed that. Pueritalia verba clamabant. The boys were shouting such words, or words of such a kind. Tot hostes incurrerant. So many enemies rushed in. Lupum totiens clamavit. He cried wolf so often. Patram adeo amo. I love my father so much, or I so love my father. Muros ita edificaverant. They built the walls in such a way that, or they built the walls so that. So when it comes to bracketing result clauses, It's just as you might expect. We're going to start at oot and end at our subjunctive verb. And because these are adverbial result clauses, we're going to do it with square brackets. So in the first example here, we've got square brackets from oot to perficiat. And in the second example, from oot to possum. And in the third example, from oot to sint. You'll notice too, I want to point out that those intensifiers, the so words, are all outside of the brackets. So those are going to be in your main clause, not inside your result clause. So to recap, adverbial result clauses. You have an intensifier in the main clause, a word like Tom, Tontus, or Talus. You have oot as your subordinator, but never known. You have a subjunctive verb inside the result clause, which can be any tense, and you have square brackets from oot to the subjunctive verb. And then lastly, we're going to translate with an English indicative. Right, so if we go back to this slide, such courage was displayed by the soldiers that they were never beaten. So this one is not going to sound subjunctive.